seen the headlines, you've seen the incredible art, the text that sounds so human it's a little spooky. Well, today we are pulling back the curtain on the tech that's making it all happen, generative AI. We're going to break down what it is, how it works, and, what this whole creative explosion really means.
All right, first things first, before we get into all the technical stuff, let's just take a second to appreciate the magic. What can this technology actually do? Because this isn't just about AI that can analyze things anymore. This is AI that can create.
I mean, just look at this. We are talking about an AI that can whip up a stunning, totally original piece of art from just a few words. It can compose music, it can write complicated code, it can even invent new recipes. It's making this huge leap from being just a tool to becoming a real creative partner.
And that right there is the big question. I mean, it's one thing for an AI to look at a million photos and learn to recognize a cat. That's cool. But to create a picture of a cat that has never existed before, that is a whole different ballgame. So how in the world does it make that jump from just analyzing to actually inventing?
To answer that, we actually have to zoom out a little bit and look at the bigger picture. We need to find generative AI on its family tree, so we can see where this powerful new branch really comes from.
This here is the perfect way to visualize it. The best way to think about all these terms is like a set of those Russian nesting dolls. The biggest, outermost doll, that's artificial intelligence. You open it up and inside you find machine learning. Inside that, you've got deep learning. And then, right there in the very center is our focus today, generative AI.
So, starting from the outside, we have artificial intelligence, or AI. This is the huge overarching idea, the whole field dedicated to making machines that can act like humans. See the world, make decisions, that kind of thing.
Okay, so how do you do that? Well, one layer in, we get to machine learning. This is a specific way to achieve AI where instead of writing out a million rules by hand, you just feed the computer a ton of data and let it figure out the patterns for itself. It's literally learning from experience.
And if we go one doll deeper, we hit deep learning. Think of this as machine learning on steroids. It uses these really complex structures called artificial neural networks, which are kind of inspired by the wiring of our own brains. All those layers let it find super subtle and complex patterns in data, making it incredibly powerful.
Okay, now that we've got the family tree sorted out, we can finally get to that aha moment. This is the crucial part. Understanding the one fundamental difference that makes generative AI so incredibly special compared to all the other AI we've been using for years.
And to make this super clear, there's a really simple but honestly brilliant analogy. Just think about the difference between a food critic and a chef, right? They both know a ton about food, but what they do with that knowledge is completely different. See, most of the AI we've known up to now is like the critic. It's officially called discriminative AI. Its whole job is to look at something and classify it, to judge it. You show it a picture and it tells you, yep, that's a dog. It's great at learning the boundary between things.
But generative AI, well, that's our chef. It doesn't just learn to tell a dog from a cat. It learns the very essence of what makes a dog, the patterns, the textures, the shapes. So instead of asking, is this a dog? You can ask it to create. You can say, show me a new picture of a dog. And poof, it generates a totally original one from its deep understanding. It doesn't just recognize, it invents.
And this slide right here shows you exactly what's happening under the hood. Look at the left, the critic, the discriminative model. It's just trying to draw a line to separate the blue dots from the red ones. Simple. But now look at the generative model on the right. It's not just drawing a line, it's learning the actual shape of each group of dots. And because it understands the whole distribution, it can create a brand new dot that fits right in. So, this begs a really important question, right? If these ideas have been floating around for a while, why is generative AI just exploding right now? Well, it turns out it was a perfect storm, a combination of three key ingredients all coming together at the same time.
First up, data. And I mean just an unbelievable, mind-boggling amount of it. The internet has basically become this giant, endless library of text, images, code, and sound for these models to learn from. Our chef suddenly has a fully stocked pantry.
Second ingredient, raw power. You need a ton of computational horsepower to chew through all that data. And thanks to huge advances in computer chips, especially those GPUs or graphics processing units that are in gaming computers, we finally have the muscle to train these giant models. And the final critical ingredient was a spark of pure genius from researchers. They came up with brand new model designs, most famously something called the transformer architecture. So what made it so special?
Well, it was just insanely good at understanding context, the relationship between words in a sentence. This made it the perfect engine for creating language that actually makes sense. So let's see what happens when you mix all three of those ingredients together. Let's look at maybe the most famous use of this technology today, understanding and generating human language.
This brings us to large language models, or LLMs. You've definitely heard of them. They're the engines behind tools like ChatGPT. They're a type of generative AI that has been trained on basically a huge chunk of the internet. By reading all that text, they learn grammar, facts, reasoning, and all the little nuances of how we talk, which lets them generate amazingly human-like responses.
But, and this is a really, really big but, we have to talk about the limitations. These things are not perfect. It's so important to remember that they can hallucinate. That means they can just make up facts that sound totally believable but are completely wrong. They don't have real common sense, and their knowledge is basically frozen in time from when they were trained. They're amazing tools, but you have to use a critical eye. And that brings us to the final, and maybe the most important question of all. Now that we kind of get the what and the how, the real challenge for every single one of us is figuring out the so what. How do we actually use this incredible new tool, this creative chef, to build amazing new things, to solve tough problems, and to get a real edge in whatever we do? That right there is the question that's going to define the next few years.